Well, we're 2 weeks into the NFL season, and maybe we're starting to figure things out just a little bit, or maybe not at all. I guess we'll find out whether we feel right or not very, very shortly. But nonetheless, I am here to give you my picks for Week 3 of this 2020 NFL season. Now, looking back at Week 2, interesting week in that only one underdog, according to the spread, won their game in Week 2, and that was the Raiders on Monday night. I picked them, so I feel good. I actually feel kind of foolish for picking a couple of upsets because outside of that, because I just played it straight across the board. Could have had an undefeated week, but picking winners last week, 14-2, 8-8 against the spread. Not the best week there, certainly, but for the season, 24-8, picking the winners. So feeling good so far on that one, and a little bit above 500, picking the spread, 18-14. Yeah, I've certainly gotten off to a worse start. So let's see if I can keep the momentum and the hits rolling here in week number 3. Now, obviously, Thursday night you had the Dolphins and Jags game, and I got to admit, honestly, I damn near forgot that this game was even going on. Like, I'm sitting there Thursday night and I'm watching basketball. I'm like, oh, that's right. There's a game. Now, I certainly thought the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to win over the Dolphins. They were at home. Short week, it's a Thursday night game. Like, that's usually the types of things that bode well for the Jags. So I had the Jags minus the 3, and of course I was tragically wrong. So what you gonna do? Them's the breaks sometimes. So already off to a flying start this week. Let's see what I can do for the rest of them. Going to Sunday's early action. I'll start off with my Bears traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. 2-0 versus 0-2. But the records may not tell the full story here. Atlanta coming off of that embarrassing choke job loss last week to the Cowboys, now sitting at 0-2 and wondering how soon their season might be going down the drain. Meanwhile, the Bears have found a way to win ugly the first 2 weeks. Atlanta's favored by 3.5, which tells you they're getting credit for the home and field advantage, and that a lot of bettors just aren't buying the Bears, and personally, I'm not either. This would be a big victory for them if they can get it, because 3-0 is 3-0. But I like Atlanta to win, but I do like Chicago to cover the 3.5-point spread. You got the Rams at 2-0 traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. I'm going to play the Bills minus the 2 here all day long. You've got the Redskins traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Interesting matchup because you say, okay, the Redskins came back from 17 down in week 1, beat the Eagles, but maybe the Eagles aren't very good. Went into Arizona, got boat raced a little bit by the Cardinals, but the Cardinals might actually be really good. Whereas the Browns got boat raced in week 1 by the Ravens, who we know are really good, and then had a fight and a struggle last Thursday night against the Bengals. And it's like, okay, what do you make out of this team? And I just don't really know yet. Cleveland's a 7-point favorite here. I do like Cleveland to win this matchup and go to 2-1. I like Washington to cover that 7-point spread. The Titans travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. And the Titans come in at 2-0. Vikings 0-2. Absolutely no reason to bet against the Titans here. Absolutely none. Because the Vikings have looked god-awful the first 2 weeks. They look as much like they're in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes as anybody does. But just for that reason, because that makes absolutely no sense, maybe it's just because I think the Vikings haven't played well the first 2 weeks, doesn't mean that they automatically suck balls entirely. And maybe when you look at the Titans, they've won a couple of close games the first 2 weeks over the Broncos and then the Jags. It's not exactly like the Titans are beating great teams. I'll pick the Vikings in an upset this week. I don't know why, but give me the Vikings to win plus the 3. The Raiders, now at 2-0, traveling to New England to take on Cam Newton, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots, who are smarting, I suppose, a little bit from that great game week 2 on Sunday night against the Seattle Seahawks, where it came down to the final play. Like, that was a great game. The Patriots are favored by 5.5 here. I like them in this spot. Give me the Patriots minus the 5.5. No disrespect, Raiders fans, but your Monday night short week, you got to travel to the East Coast. I don't like your chances here. If you do win, then that's a really good harbinger of things to come potentially for this season. You got the 49ers traveling to New York to take on the Giants. I can't remember at this time if Jimmy G is going to play or not, or whether it's going to be Nick Mullins. Like, we forget maybe that Nick Mullins is a little bit familiar and a little bit comfortable with this offense. Has had okay moments in the sun with this team when he was starting in the past. The Giants come in, no Saquon Barkley. Like, Joe Judge's teams fight, clearly, and they work hard, but they're just not very good because this GM sucks. And while the 49ers might be stinging a little bit, from losing Nick Bosa due to injury. I look at this and I still feel like I've got to feel pretty good about them winning. So give me the 49ers minus the 3. The Bengals travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. I will take the Eagles minus the 4.5. You've got the Texans traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. It's a really rough draw of it at the beginning of the year for the Texans. We're going to give you the Chiefs, the Ravens, and then, oh, by the way, week 3, you got to go to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers, who have Big Ben back. Good luck with that, bitches. Give me Pittsburgh minus the 4 all day long. The hell with Bob. Fire Bill O'Brien, please. Moving on to the late Sunday afternoon action. Give me the Colts over the Jets minus the 11.5. The Jets are walking wounded right now, and they have Adam Gase as their coach, which is immediately a 2-touchdown deficit that they have to overcome. So I'll take the Colts minus the 11.5. The Panthers travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. The Chargers, who sit there 1-1, took the defending champs to overtime last week. I'm assuming at this point Tyrod's the starter, and maybe I should have done a little reading up before I came in here. But the Chargers are 6.5-point favorites. I understand the circumstances sucked, what happened to Tyrod last week, and that's unfair, and unfortunately that is also life. I think it's a clown show decision if they go back to starting Tyrod Taylor, because Justin Herbert clearly is the better guy for this team at this point. And he's the rookie, he's the guy with the upside, he's the one you're banking the next 10 to 15 years of your franchise on. Tis better to find out now. Do not wait, do not despair. In a perfect situation to put him in. Another home game against a lesser opponent this time, not the defending champs, and have a whole week of preparation. This would be the perfect spot to start him. But that said, I like the Panthers here. I do. I don't think they're a very good team. I know McCaffrey's out, but I like the Panthers here. Give me the Panthers actually to win plus the 6.5. Going big, go bold, or go home. God damn it, probably go home. Well, I am home, so what difference is there? You got the Buccaneers traveling to Denver to take on a depleted Broncos team. I like Tampa to win, but Denver's well coached. They fight hard, they play hard. I like them to cover the 5-point spread. The Lions travel to Arizona to take on Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Good luck with that one. Cardinals minus 5.5 all day long. Another really interesting matchup, though, and a good one. Potential playoff preview. The Cowboys, coming off of last week's dramatic come-from-behind victory, now 1-1 under Mike McCarthy, travel to Seattle to take on Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites here, which I certainly understand based off of how the season's been so far. You talk about the Seahawks winning in Atlanta and dominated week 1, and then they beat the Patriots in week 2. But there's some recent precedent here that the Cowboys play the Seahawks pretty well. And while the Cowboys' offensive line is not what it once was, you still have Dak, you still have Zeke, you have some weapons in the passing game on the offensive side of the ball, even with Jarwin going down. I like the Cowboys here. Maybe, again, I'm not learning my lessons from last week and I'm picking too many upsets, but I like the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys plus a 4.5. Sunday night matchup should be interesting. You never know. It could be the last time you ever see this. Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees, Packers versus Saints. I know the Saints are favored here, but, the Saints got exposed a little bit, I thought, last week on Monday night against the Raiders. Well, it certainly doesn't help not having Michael Thomas. And while the Packers might be looking at, playing the game without Devontae Adams, they still have Aaron Rodgers. They still put up big points the first 2 weeks of the season. And, no major crowd issues to speak with here in terms of the home field advantage. Yeah, give me the Packers. I like the Packers on Sunday night. Give me Green Bay plus the 3. And then the marquee matchup for week number 3, I think beyond question. Potential, who knows, AFC Championship preview. You got the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson, the defending MVP, and the Ravens. When you look at this matchup, Baltimore are 3.5-point favorites. Maybe some of this comes in that the bettors are feeling a little better about Baltimore the first 2 weeks because they look really, really good, like they're imposing the will on folks. And Kansas City struggled in week 2 against a team with a rookie quarterback and had to take them to overtime. But sometimes those types of things can happen in divisional games. There's rivalry. There's more familiarity. Those types of things sometimes can happen. When you look at this matchup, I think it's a big statement game for both teams. Because if Kansas City could go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens, and they're sitting at 3-0, and potentially owning this tiebreaker, which could certainly come into play when it comes to playoff seeding later in the year, it's a huge spot for the Chiefs and a huge opportunity. Whereas when you talk about for the Ravens, same thing. Now you've got the home field advantage this game, If you win this one, it might bode well for you for home field advantage later on down the line when it's really, truly going to matter. I think the Ravens have looked like the better team the first 2 weeks. I will take the Ravens to win. With Lamar and Patrick Mahomes on Monday night, I'm so looking forward to this game, and I know a lot of other folks have got to be as well. I do think the Chiefs have the chance here to cover the spread, so I will take the Chiefs to cover the 3.5. But I think Baltimore wins this game. So those are my picks for week number 3. Make of them what you will. As always, you can go against me in the comment section below. Look forward to seeing what happens with this week's game and being back here sometime Monday night, Tuesday morning to recap for week 3 of this NFL season. See you then.